All right, guys, the Canadian women's roster has been dropped for the December friendlies versus Iceland and Korean Republic. Let's talk about it a little bit here. So, one of the things I was looking and calling for this window would be to see maybe a few younger players, maybe a few newer players, because again, I'm if you are new to me, I'm someone who's very much a proponent of, hey, when they're friendlies, experiment a bit, see, play with your depth, see some players that maybe weren't familiar with the program, get them in. And I think right now where Canada is a very interesting spot just because they are in transition. They are clearly looking for a new coach. So maybe there's a question on how much you should experiment with, how much you should just keep things the status quo. But ultimately, I'm very much excited to see some of the names that are here. Some names aren't there due to injuries and what have you. So Quinn, they are not on this roster. Kadeshi Buchanan, Chloe Lacasse, injuries. Jordan Heidema, personal reasons, not with this team as well. And I'm sure I'm missing another player. But here are the names as listed as follows. We have Marie-Esme Lalidou, Simia Wujo, Janine Becky, Gabrielle Carl, Serena D'Angelo, Jesse Fleming, Vanessa Gilles, Julia Grosso, Geneva Hernandez Gray, Ashley Lawrence, Adrienne Leon, Jeanette Okiki, Michelle Prince, Lucienne Prou, Emma Reagan, Megan Reed, Jade Riviere, Deanne Rose, Nia Rose, Kaylin Sheridan, Olivia Smith, Evelyn Vienne, and Shalene Zadorsky. Solid lineups. I think the names that everyone's excited to see. Definitely some young names. Nia Rose and Jeanette O'Keefe making the roster. Very exciting for those players. Geneva Hernandez Gray, um, formerly of the Vancouver Whitecaps, elite. Same thing with Jeanette O'Keefe. Listening and wondering, see what's going to happen there. We're assuming she's signing with the Vancouver Rise, right? That's the assumption. Right, I know it hasn't been official. She foregoed 1 year. She stayed off the scholarship, so maybe she signs, maybe she doesn't. We shall see. But you look at that list, right? Geneva Hernandez Gray, you have Nia Rose, Jeanette O'Keefe. That's three youth players coming in. Olivia Smith, fresh off youth as well. Same thing with Nia Rose off that U20 team. Same with Geneva Hernandez Gray, all off that U20 team coming in. You have Megan Reed and Emma Reagan. Reagan's had a few calls in. Reed was a training player during a during Christine Sinclair's retirement celebration tour. So you have five or so players who are here who are going to be looking to kind of break in. Sydney Tai is the coach, which is the interesting thing. I know there's depending on who you are. Some people are convinced that Andy Spence has been suspended. According to Ben Steiner, according to Ben Steiner, he was just unavailable this window, but is still with the women's national program. So until said otherwise, I'll just stick with that report for now. So Sydney Tai, who some people are like, why is there a U Sports coach there? Sydney Tai is a U20 coach. If you follow this channel, you know that. But Sydney Tai is going to be the interim coach for this. I'm excited with this roster. You have Iceland and Korean Republic, two top 20 teams, Canada being a top 10 team still. But it's going to be very interesting, especially with no Jordan Heidema. Though you have Michelle Prince, who is playing better, in better form based off of the year that she's had. I'm very much curious to see how Ty approaches getting players onto the pitch. I think it's a very big window for Evelyn Vienne as well as Marie-Esme Lalidou. I think Evelyn Vienne gets the opportunity to be the starting nine here. Opens a few doors for her. If she gets to have those opportunities, I think it could bode well. A good performance here could really maybe solidify her spot as being the nine and going into 2025. Or at least if you didn't think it was a conversation, making sure there's a conversation. Marie-Esme Lalidou, a player who was on the outside, it seems, for too many years. Keep on being told too late in the cycle. Well, now she's here. She scored against Spain. I think she's a player who I think can do nothing but raise her stock here based off of this current admin. I think the nines, and then also, curiously, who are the defenders who get some looks? I think low key for me, Jade is back, Ashley Lawrence is back, but low key, Gabby Carl, though, who has played out wide, I think she should start. Jade's biggest problem right now has been availability. That's Jade Riviera. Also, shout out that I don't need to go between Jade Riviera and Jade Rose, but now I just have to go between Deanne Rose and Nia Rose. No relation, making life easier for me. But I think Gabby Carl, I think, has been the better of the two. And I think mainly you could say if it's just off availability, but I also think it's just off form. She's been better this year. Yes, you want to argue who played in a better league, who's not, but I think Gabby deserves that shout. If you're not going to give her the shout out wide, I think it is more than fair to give her a shout as one of your three center backs. And if you're going to have that conversation, then you have Vanessa Shields, you have Shalina Zadorsky, and then you'd have Gabby Carl, maybe. What she does at center back, I'm very much curious to see. Sydney Ty, that is. When you go to the midfield, Julia Grosso getting form, no surprise there. All right, you keep on forgetting that Janine Becky is still on the side, and she's still going to be quality. Apology to all the Janine Becky fans out there. But I think it's interesting for me. In the midfield, how much run do you give a young player like Geneva Hernandez Gray, especially with Simi Awujo coming to her own at Man United? I think watching and more, I think Simi and Fleming is still my preferred midfield duo if you're going to go in that traditional 3-4-3 or that 3-4-2-1. I'm curious to see how Ty wants to approach that. Even if you go with a holding, maybe you experiment there. Where do you play around with like Olivia Smith? Do you still think she's better off out wide? I think she is. An attacking line of Smith, Leon, and Vienne is very intriguing. You still have Janine Becky in terms of where you want to put her. Maybe you start her out on the right-hand side. And if you do that, maybe that's your opening to put a Gabby Carl back there. Or you play a Megan Reed there or Emma Reagan in the midfield. That's actually the thing for me. I think there's enough midfielders that maybe they play around with it instead of going with your traditional back three. Maybe they play a back four that shifts to a back three, and they have one holding. So, the questions. What's the best roster options? I'm curious to see how Sydney approaches this roster in this window, honestly, because I think there's a lot of good combinations that you can kind of get away with. But I'm excited regardless. Iceland and Korean Republic at the end of the month. Guys, let me know, who do you like in this roster? Who is this window very important for? I think Vienne, Elidu, and especially Carl, I think. Not that Gabby Carl's done anything wrong, but I think solidifying her role is saying that one of those wing back positions or those fullback positions are hers to play. I think that'll be interesting to see. Or maybe they just go with a 3-5-2 here. Go 2 attacking forwards and go 3 in the midfield. There's so many questions, so many options. I'm curious to see how it goes. But guys, let me know. And as always, stop talking right here.